Hey, Mark Shepard here, cowabunga.com, and today I want to talk about the process of learning. I want to talk about failure. We have a saying in NLP, we have a belief, we call it one of the presuppositions of NLP, and that is, there is no failure, there's only feedback. If you've been following any of my videos or audios or my Cowabunga radio show on Blog Talk Radio, you've probably heard me talk about recently. I was working with 4 people for weight loss, and even though I had thought that I'd set it up really correctly with them as far as saying, hey, listen, I don't change you, I'm a coach. This is all something that you actually have to do. You have to implement the things that I teach you, and for some reason, all in like a 2-week period, these 4 weight loss people, some of whom were getting good results, all quit. I had one who had decided to do a juice fast, and she had a target of, a certain date, and she wanted to be in a certain dress size by that time. And although for me that's more of a short-term fix, I encouraged her because, frankly, she was someone who hadn't really done a lot with vegetables in her life, and it was good, and she had support. She started juicing. She'd lost 11 pounds. She was doing well, and the next week she called in sick, didn't make the appointment, and then the following week she wouldn't take my phone calls. Like, what happened, right? Another one who I had said, listen, you have to lose 100 pounds? Okay, that's a 1-year commitment. She only made it through 6 months, and I thought we were right on the edge of a breakthrough, and then she walked away from it. And a couple other people were actually getting good results, but coming to their appointments was just too much hassle in their life. All that's well and good. That's happened before. But the question is, I'm in this to help people. I'm in this to get results, and as much as I recognize there's a certain factor beyond my control when I'm working with someone, I can't be in their mind 24/7 if they don't want me there, right? I can't walk around with them and go, oh, don't eat that, or don't eat this, or that's too much. I can't do that kind of stuff. So that's why hypnosis is powerful, because if I can communicate directly with their unconscious minds, then usually I can have an advocate in the unconscious realm. But for me, it's not failure, it's feedback. It's like, okay, my intention is to help people. My intention is to help them get results. I can't do it for them, but I can help create the situation for them to absolutely thrive. If someone used the Cowabunga tools, the tools of neuro-linguistic processing or programming or psychology, whatever you want to call it, if someone actually uses those tools, they're going to get results. But here's the problem. If you're using the tools, but you haven't addressed some other issues, then you're going to be stopping yourself from getting results. And here's what I mean. I've been reading this book, Grain Brain, by David Perlmutter, or Perlmutter, I'm not sure how he pronounces his name, Grain Brain. And one of the things that he talks about in this is that one of the main ingredients in grains is gluten, and that the grains we eat today are so much more full of gluten than the grains we've eaten for the past, 10,000 years. And one of the things he does is he realizes in this book that gluten affects the same receptors in the brain as opiates, as heroin, opium, and other narcotics. So listen to this. Modern food manufacturing, including genetic bioengineering, have allowed us to grow grains that contain up to 40 times the gluten of grains cultivated just a few decades ago. 40 times. One thing we do know, modern gluten-containing grains are more addictive than ever. If you've ever felt a rush of euphoric pleasure following the consumption of a bagel, scone, donut, or croissant, you're not imagining it, and you're not alone. We've known since the late 1970s that gluten breaks down in the stomach to become a mix of polypeptides that can cross the blood-brain barrier. Once they gain entry, they can then bind to the brain's morphine receptor to produce a sensorial high. This is the same receptor to which opiate drugs bind, creating their pleasurable, albeit addicting effect. So, one of the reasons that people don't have success is misinformation. For one thing, I'll eat whole wheat bread. I will eat plenty of fruit. I'll have rice and beans. That's way healthier. And the reality is those are all carbs. And on the glycemic index, if you have a piece of whole wheat bread, a Snickers bar, a banana, and I forget what the other thing was, ultimately the whole wheat bread is higher on the glycemic index than literally candy. Yet people think, I'm eating whole wheat bread. I'm eating all grains. I'll have oatmeal in the morning instead of Captain Crunch cereal. Well, hello, it's still a grain and it's affecting your brain. So one of the things I can't do, I can give you all these change tools that help you change your mind and help you change your perception of the world and help you think differently. But if you're in a brain fog because you're eating food that is literally acting like a drug on your brain and causing inflammation in your body, and not just in your gut like a celiac disease, but all over your body, these grains are causing inflammation. And if that is where you're coming from in evaluating whether you're making progress or not, you're literally, if you're eating grains, you're on a drug. So for me, there's no failure, there's only feedback. And the feedback for me is that one of the things that I have to do before I even accept a client is to say, hey, listen, read this book, and if you still want to work with me, I'll work with you. But you're going to have to eat like this. You're going to have to cut out grains from your diet and as many carbs as humanly possible. And that doesn't mean you can't ever eat fruit, but it means one small piece of fruit a day. Like I have these big apples that I have in my refrigerator, and I cut them in half and I eat one half of an apple every day or so. That's for me, that's a real treat, and the sweetness of that apple is pleasurable, and it's fall, it's in season. So the thing is, there's so much more to what's going on than failure or success. There's so much more. I mean, first of all, we have to get out of our own way. And sometimes that takes a while to pull the different threads of how you're stopping yourself. How are you getting in your own way? What is your thinking process? And if your thinking process is skewed because you're actually eating these grains thinking that they're healthy, but they're not, and you're on a low-fat diet, which again, your brain is made of fat. Your body needs fat. It needs fat. And so these are counterintuitive to what we've been taught. Well, we have been taught that, whole grains are good for you and that fat is bad for you. And look at our culture. Look at the people you see on the street. We are the fattest people in the history of the world. We are not fat, healthy fat. We are bad fat. We are full of diseases like diabetes and, irritable bowel syndrome and all of this stuff. My 28-year-old son said to me one day, he said, Dad, all of my friends in their 20s have intestinal issues. That's a pretty damning fact. So today, cowabunga, it's not about failure, it's about feedback. It's about if one thing doesn't work, try something else. It's to have an open mind, to do your research, to begin to say, hey, whatever I'm creating, I have created it unknowingly or knowingly, and now it's time to wake up. Wake up, people. Wake up. The things that you are being advertised to are not necessarily good for you. So wake up. It's time to get all cowabunga in every area of your life. Look at what you're eating. I have a couple of dear friends who are vegetarians, and they eat more carbs. They have an amazing sweet tooth. I have a friend who's a vegan. She's always making vegan desserts, which any way you cut it, there's some form of sweetener in there. There's sugar in there. Think about it. Think about it. What did our ancestors in the forests eat? They certainly didn't eat bread. And they certainly didn't eat a bread that was 40 times more glutinous than, it's one thing to find some wild wheat somewhere and to crush the wheat berries and make something out of them. But meat, vegetables, healthy fats. Protein, if you're not a meat eater, there are other ways to get protein, and they're not cheap. You've got to investigate it. You've got to take action. Your life depends on it. So that's it for today. MarkShepard, and thank you again for watching and listening. Get this book, read it, underline it, live it. It could save your life. Maybe not now, but later on when you're older, you want to keep your mind, don't you? We'll talk tomorrow about dementia, Alzheimer's, and grains. So, cowabunga. Why does it work out better than you could possibly imagine? There is no failure. There is only feedback. And the feedback is grains are messing us up. Do something different. Thanks so much.